Hey, what's up everyone? Hope you're doing well. Now, let's talk some gaming. Tomorrow, we're getting a new State of Play, which will be a 60+ minute presentation for third-party, indies, and some of PlayStation studios. I'll talk about it and what are some of the expectations for the showcase. So, let's drink our daily dose of copium and discuss what's coming next. First of all, I believe that after so many disappointments, some people don't expect much from those presentations anymore. It's always a surprise, since we never really know what we're gonna get. Of course, there are still people praying for Bloodborne 2, which has basically become a myth and a meme at this point. Not to mention people like me, who would absolutely lose it with news of a Legend of Dragoon remaster or remake announcement. But the thing is, I know this is close to impossible, so no disappointments for me in that regard. A recent example was the last Nintendo Direct. People tuned in expecting new games and big reviews, but ended up not getting anything close to what they hoped for, with even the lowest predictions not being met, leaving people completely frustrated. As for Sony, sometimes they try to temper expectations by saying what the show will be about. People still get disappointed, but at least they know they went in prepared to be let down. The thing is, a 60+ minute show gets people intrigued. What could possibly require such a long showcase? If it were only a few smaller games, a 30 to 40 minute event would be more than enough. Hopefully it's not mostly filler, and they actually show interesting content. At this point, we hope they've learned from feedback and noted what we really want to see in these presentations. Gameplay, less CGI trailers, and minimal talk. Starting with the most recent discussions around the types of games Sony invested heavily in during this generation, there's hope they won't double down on the live service push we've seen over and over again. It's interesting that Horizon Hunters Gathering was revealed just a week before the event, with Sony choosing not to include it. Maybe they're planning to show more gameplay later, but with what they've shown so far, it would probably be a waste of space here. Some people speculate that due to the very harsh reception live service games are getting, Sony tried not to include yet another one to avoid even more backlash. Or maybe the reason is simply that they don't want the audience to perceive Horizon Hunters as a PlayStation exclusive. We know this game aims to reach as many players as possible, and any signs of exclusivity wouldn't be that good. Another live service game we'll definitely see is Marathon. Even though it targets a different audience, it's still a live service game, and showing too many of these could easily backfire. People expect it to be Concord 3, but the fact that the game was delayed and that the devs are being given proper time to implement player feedback and improve the experience could lead to a better reception. One thing I don't think would be a good idea is dedicating a 30-minute segment exclusively to Marathon. Even with the improved reception, that would be too much, but let's see. Sony has invested too much in that game, so it's possible. Now, coming from other games, we might also see something from Hideo Kojima, and that seems very likely. He recently posted a picture of himself editing a new trailer after many months, which could indicate news about Death Stranding 2, either new content for a PC port announcement or some DLC. At this point, there are very few signs of news about this next project. It might still be too early. We know Physint is still far away, but it's not impossible that we see another OD trailer showing what the game actually is. As of now, it feels like even Kojima himself doesn't fully know what it'll become when it's finished. Now, I also believe we see some obvious picks, especially big games that are close to release. Resident Evil Requiem is releasing this month, And even though we've had regular updates, this could be a good place for Capcom to show a bit more. Probably a short preview, but still, I think it'll appear in the show. Another one is Saros, a game that's very likely to appear. With a release planned for the end of April, we've had some previews and gameplay trailers, but not as much as other titles. This would be a great opportunity to go more in depth, especially considering it's a PS5 exclusive. This is the place to really show players what the game has to offer. Now, about games that might or might not appear, we have some like Wolverine. We saw its gameplay review last year, and we're still waiting for more information. With a planned release for autumn 2026, assuming it doesn't get delayed, the coming months should bring more and more content about it. The main reason it might skip this show is that it's still a bit far away. Sony might want to dedicate a full presentation to it later this year. So I can see Wolverine sitting this one out. When you look more, you see a lot of people expecting Intergalactic, the upcoming Naughty Dog game. So I'm not sure about this one because we recently heard that the studio went back to heavy crunch policies, with the game not being exactly where they expected it to be. That rush could mean we see a gameplay trailer, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen yet. That said, I'm very curious to see how it plays. This looks like a new direction for Naughty Dog. After years of realism, the sci-fi setting and over-the-top movement are something I really want to see in action. Now we have Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, another one on a lot of people's bingo cards. Rebirth came out 3 years ago, and with recent news that the game is fully playable, a new trailer this year feels inevitable. I wouldn't rule out a teaser at this state of play. We know that playable doesn't mean it's ready to be shown, but even a small snippet or a title reveal would send some people into meltdown mode. Even if it's not here, I don't think it'll be long before we see more from Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3. Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls is another game people expect almost 100% to appear. The game is evolving steadily, and earlier this week a Steam page update revealed a roster of 20 characters along with single-player modes and other features. All of this suggests they might have planned a presentation for the state of play to show these updates and talk about development progress, making it another strong possibility. Crimson Desert could also be present at this show. With Pearl Abyss planning to update fans regularly until release, they might share news about PS5 performance modes and additional features. Given how dense the game is, performance is the biggest concern right now. There's so much happening on screen at once that many people don't believe the game will maintain a solid frame rate at launch. The devs said they're now focusing heavily on optimization after the game went gold, aiming for the best performance possible. But ultimately, we'll only know how it truly runs once we get our hands on it. Another thing many people are talking as a certainty now is the review of Starfield for PS5. The rumors are now bordering on reports, with Xbox bringing more games to PlayStation and Starfield reportedly planned for PS5. It wouldn't be a surprise to see a launch date reveal here. This could give the game a boost, since it didn't perform quite as well as Bethesda expected. That said, I'm not sure how excited PlayStation fans actually are, but we'll see. And of course, there's always the expectation of GTA 6 showing up at events like this. People are desperate to see more of it, the most anticipated game of the decade, easily. But I don't see it happening here. GTA is simply too big for a state of play. When the next trailer drops, Rockstar will probably do what they always do, drop it out of nowhere and completely dominate the internet. I just don't think this is the moment. As for me personally, I'd love to see more of Control Resonant. We got a teaser at the Game Awards and I was instantly excited. Control is an underrated game. Its mechanics and wild story are fantastic. And when I saw that you'll be able to play as a melee sword-focused character, I was even more interested. The gunplay in Control is already insane, so imagine combining sword combat with telekinesis powers. I'm really expecting this to be something special, and hopefully Remedy finally gets the recognition they deserve. So yeah, from the wild expectations to the more realistic ones, I'm very curious about this state of play. I wanna know why they decided to make it a 60+ minute show. I expect to see a lot of indies as usual, hopefully some interesting ones. Smaller studios have been on a great streak lately, and I'm always checking out demos and following new projects to see what they bring to the industry. That said, we also need the big AAA games, the flashy, high budget, and a show this long should have at least 4 of them. So what about you? What do you expect from this state of play? Are you still hoping for Bloodborne 2? What other games do you think we'll see during the show? Thanks again for sticking around. Have a good one, see you next time.